guys? It is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Told you it wouldn't be long before I did another Van Halen. At this point, it really feels odd if I'm not doing a Van Halen lesson. I don't know why. But we're going to do some Sammy era. We're going to do Top of the World. So this is probably one of the top Sammy era requested Van Halen songs. So I'm going to knock that one. And I'm still planning on finishing Van Halen 1 by the end of the year. So you'll see that a couple more of those coming up soon. All right, so before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and ring that notification bell so you'll know when I release a new video. And check out my Guitar Academy, please. You'll see a link in the description below. That link will give you a free 7-day trial to the Guitar Academy, which contains all my guitar courses covering everything from technique, improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone stuff. So please go check it out. All right, so we're in standard tuning here. We've got some fun stuff to do. So let's check out this intro again. So this riff was actually at the end of Jump. So live, they would go from this song at the end of Jump or whatever, I guess, into this one or whatever, to kind of tie them together, because that's probably the first time you've heard that riff was at the end of Jump. So what is he doing? Now, this is based off of just the top 2 strings. So we have the high E string going a lot, and then we have, against that, he's doing the melody on the B string. So just that melody right there, we have this. So that's that 5, 5, 5, 4, 5. So it goes back to the 5 there. So you got to pick the 5 4 times, the 4 a couple times, then back to the 5, and then down to 2. So that's the melody. So you're going to do that with the high E string with. Now, he's kind of like hitting the high E string then. But you're obviously really kind of digging into the B string more, so you're not kind of hearing that more. And then the second time around, goes that melody again, 5, 4, back to 5. Then the open B and the open high E. So that melody. So instead of this, we go. And then we're back. This third time through the melody, we have this down to 4, and then it ends on the 5. So we have this. Kind of start with a slide into it. All right, so you get that high E string in there with it, and then you kind of some nice light palmating. And then the first ending that we have this. I'm sorry. So that's going to be, start with a B sus4 chord. So that's, Eddie loves his sus4 chords. So we have the 2nd fret there on the A string and borrow the 4th fret across the D, G, and the B. But now add the 5th fret there on the B string. So that's a sus, B sus4. Then resolve it down to just a basic B major. Then you go to an A major. And then slide that up. Just still keep the open A under it. Slide that bar at the 2nd fret up to the 4th fret. So. And then hit the low E string there, and then you start the riff over again. And then we have a different ending the second time around. So that starts up here with this the C sharp minor chord. That's a bar at the 4th fret while having the, you're gonna pick from the 5th string across, and then you're gonna have the 6th on the D and the G, 5th on the B. And then that B sus4 to the B major again, down to the A. So it's really good on just an A power chord. So we have this. So this is finishing out the intro there. So when we get down to that A chord, kind of start chugging on the open A string a little bit, and then we have this. So that's going to be up here, that'll B sus4 thing again, but you only need, up here is kind of like the Panama. Whatever. All right, so that's just that, just kind of, you don't need the root note in there. So we're just, so that's the bar at the 4th fret across the D, G, and the B. But you're going to add the 5th fret first for that sus4 on the B string. Then resolve it down to the D, I'm sorry, the B chord. And then kind of the same thing here, but off of an E major triad. So you'll hold, it's like just like a D major here, but you move it up to the 4th fret. And the first time you hit it, you're going to play the 5th fret on the high E to make it an E sus4. And then resolve that down to the E major. So we have this. Then down to a D chord. So that. And then we're going to end it with again B sus4 to the B chord again. And that takes us to the verse. Now over that we have this cool little fill, which looks like this. So that comes in over there. I'm sorry, the E. So that's so that I'm just up here. That's just 10 on the B, then 9, and then 10. Pull off 10 to 9. Over to 9 on the G, and then we do his tapped harmonics. So that's just tapping the harmonic 12 frets up. So if that's the 9th fret, we're going to go up to the 21st fret, tap right over the fret, and a couple of bends on it, and then he taps it again. All right, so more tap harmonics a little bit later. So that little fill is going on over it. So you'll have to figure out which one you want to do. Live, he kind of mostly sticks with the, he'll do some of the fills, kind of messing around with the tap harmonics, but in the beginning, the ones I saw, he was mostly kind of hanging out with the chords. And then we have the verse, which looks like this. All right, so this is kind of a little bit subdued. If you want to roll off the volume a little bit, you can just kind of clean it up a touch. So you start with this open E string. So we have this, and then he hybrid picks. We're gonna play, or you can use fingers. I know he has it kind of do it like he plays little guitars still with his index and his middle finger, even while he's holding his pick, because he obviously holds his pick a little bit different than most players. But you can hybrid pick that. But what's going on is you're going to play the 9th fret on the D and the G. So you kind of playing the staccato. Then you hit the open A string, and when you do that, you go back to those. That's going to be the 7th fret on the D, 9th fret on the G. And then you take it down to this tritone here, so the 8th fret on the G string, still with the 7th on the D. And then back to those two 9s. and then you're back to the low E string. So we have this. So after hitting those nines a few more times, after we went back to the E. So after this, we had this ending, this first ending. Now you can do that. I can't really find a clear shot of where he's doing this. So I think he's probably doing it like this. Or, so my favorite way to do it is kind of just going 4 on the B, 4 on the G, and then 7 on the D. And then we have 5 on the B string with the high E string with it. Slide it up to 7, still keep the high E string ringing, and then back down to the 5 and the open high E. So. Or you can just, the variation of that, if you want to play it, he might be doing this note here at the second fret on the G. But I like it up here. So the same thing after that, and then now this second ending, instead of doing this, we have this, which is just, we did that earlier, which is that C sharp minor chord, and then the B sus4 to the B major, and then it takes us to the pre-chorus, which looks like this. All right, so then it goes to the chorus. All right, so that pre-chorus got some cool stuff in it. So you hit the A power chord really, and start chugging on that A string. And then we go to that same move, that B sus4. So this is very similar to the Panama. So we have this the same thing we did before. So you're not doing the bass note in there, it's just these 3 strings. You play the sus4 to the B, and then back to the sus4, pick it again, and then pull off to the B. So we have this. And then pick it, and slide it down to 2, and then A again. So we have this. And then still playing that, you open at A. So after that open A, then 4, 2, 0 on the low E string. So we have this. All right, from there, we're gonna do that same E sus4 that we did earlier. Down to the E major, down to a D major chord. And then while you're still playing this D chord here, the D string kind of chugging on the open D, you're gonna go back up and do the same thing we basically did with that B sus4 up with the E sus4. So that's the same thing, that same, but just with this different chord shape, the E that we did earlier. So we have this. So that little thing at the end is 3, 2, 1 on the A string, then back to 2, and And there's a pick scrape that he does a lot. And there's, you know, obviously a lot of pick scrapes over here. So that 3, 2, 1, 2. And when you hit the low E, that starts the chorus. All right, so I'll play through the pre-chorus real quick for you again. All right, and then that takes us to the chorus, which looks like this. All right, so that chorus right there is similar to the intro riff, but it's not how he plays. He doesn't repeat the intro riff there, even though you'll probably see people playing covers and stuff doing it like that. It's actually up here. It's kind of a more subdued, kind of a chunkier version of it, if I can use that word. So So open E, and then you're gonna play those 2 9s again on the D and the G, and then move the melody on the G string down to the 8th fret, and then back up to 9. So you keep kind of going back to the low E string with it. So you see I went back to the E, hit it a couple times first. Back to the E, and then back there. So you just kind of keep that melody in your head. And then we go to this A. So this is the open A string, 7th fret on the D, 6th fret on the G. And then we kind of continue that melody on the G string. So that same melody, 9, 8, 9, with that underneath it, the open A and the A on the 7th fret of the D string. So we have this so far. And then back to the E string, and then back to the same thing we started with. And then there's a little ending. So you hear that, what you're hearing there, you're hearing this, it kind of sounds like he's just doing like this 5/4 on the B string, and then he slides from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the D. And then we have, you kind of hear this barring here at the 4th fret now. We have the melody is 7 5 4 on the B string with that B note here, the 4th fret on the G string with it. So start over. And then at the end of the chorus, after you've played the riff twice, we have that B to the sus4, back to the B. Then we have an A power chord, and then he hits it again and makes it an A sus2. So how do you do that? We have just an open A string, 2nd fret on the D and the G, but the open B, that's what makes it sus2, and the open high E. All right, so from there we go back into the verse. It's the same verse we did before. And there's some fills in there, which are just basically, he's just doing the kind of touch harmonic off of just doing the bends at the 9th fret, and he's playing the harmonics at the 5th and 7th. and just doing some bends off of it. So I want to, he does the whole second half of this song, he's got these harmonics going over the music. So at the end, I'll kind of show you some stuff he's doing over the ending chorus and stuff. But to tackle each one of these harmonics, which are kind of just all over the place, would be kind of redundant. But so that's what he's doing there, though. That in that second verse, a bunch of tapped harmonics, and you kind of really holding that 9th fret there and doing some bends, and then tapping the 5th fret and 7th fret above it. And then we go back into the same pre-chorus, and then the chorus again, except there's a different ending. So we have this. And that takes us to the bridge. So that little ending there was just a D chord to an A power chord, and that takes us to the bridge, which sounds like this. All right, so that's just kind of arpeggiated picking. We're just going to start with a G major chord with B in the bass. So a 2nd fret on the A string, open G, and then 3rd fret on the B. So we just play that, the A string, open G, then the B, and then move the note up on the A string to the 3rd fret. And then we go to a D chord, but we're making a D sus2 chord. So instead of a D major, just pick up the note on the high E string to make it an open high E string. So you're just kind of picking across it and then back down. And then start kind of the same way over again. Now here, we go, instead of to the D chord, we go to a G. So we just move this over to the 3rd fret on the low E string. Then the open G, and then the B, and then back to a D chord real quick. And when you get to that D chord, you're going to do that 3rd fret on the high E, then 2nd fret, and then back across the D chord. All right, so then after that part, let's play up to what we have so far. And then it starts to kind of plays it the same way that we did the first time through, from that to the D sus2, and then it goes to an E minor chord, so the open low E, and then just pick across the open high E, B, and G string. So we have this. And then we're going to end it. So that's the 2nd fret on the low E string. I'm just doing it with my thumb. Open D, 2nd fret on the G. And then 3rd fret on the low E, open D, open G. And then end it with the A power chord and B power chord. So all together. All right, then we get to the solo. Now the solo, really there's a rhythm guitar part of the very beginning of the solo, first half of it, when he's doing all the wah stuff. And it's just kind of like this going on. So that's just that E power chord. Starting with a low E string, and then it's the E sus2 chord. I'm sorry, a C sus2 chord. So it's just borrowing at the 3rd fret across the top 5 strings and playing the 5th fret on the D and the G. So let this note right here be the 3rd fret part of the bar. You hear the low E still in there too. Again. That C sus2 again, and then up to a D major chord, or just play like that if you want to. It's just 5th fret on the A, then 7th fret of the D, G, and the B. All right, so now over that we have the solo. So that first part that I was just playing the rhythm under was with the wah part, and then when it starts kind of moving around to all the arpeggios, we kind of drop in a rhythm guitar part there, and there's a couple of you know, kind of overdubs there for the solo. So instead of doing like the high part for the arpeggio section, I'm just going to do the part that he usually does live. Well, obviously, he can't do both at the same time. So we're going to play the solo kind of more like he does it live. So we're going to follow the beginning the same way with the wah, and then when we get to the arpeggio section, we're going to do the lower arpeggio section. All right, so let's check it out. All right, so we start there with the wah pedal for this first half, but I'll kind of leave it out while we're doing showing you the notes. So that's sliding into the 9th fret there on the D string, and then plays 7, 9 on the G, and then kind of dig in, bend on that 9. I'm sorry, the 7th fret there on the G, and then back to the 9. So we have this. So. And then we kind of slide into the 9 again, over to the 7 on the G, and then a bend on the 8th fret on the B string, then 7, 9 on the G. Remember, most time when you're playing that 7, you're doing a little bend on it. So. One more time. So that's kind of like a half step bend there on that 8th fret. And then we go down to the 5th fret on the D string, and then up to 7. So a couple times on the 5, and up to 7, back down to 5. Now obviously, you're kind of accentuating that with the wah pedal. So back down to the 5, and then we have this. So we have this. Play 5, hammer 7, 8, pull off to 7, pull up to 5, over to 7 on the G string. Go to this. All right, then we start again with kind of the same melody. Except the second time through here, we have a little bit different. When we go to that bend at the 8th fret, we do it twice. And the second time you hear that bend, it's a little bit further of a bend. And then resolve it there to the 7th fret on the G string. So that second bend there, a little bit wider. And then we have this. So you kind of slide up and then play this. So it's hammering, play the 12th fret, hammer 14, 15 on the B, and then the same thing on the G, the high E. and then pull off 14 to 12 on the E, over to 15 on the B. All right, and so there's no wah from here, and then we have this little arpeggio section. Now here is where you hear the higher part played with the arpeggio. So I'm just going to be doing the lower part here. You're not going to be able to do both at the same time anyway. And this is also what Eddie chose to do live. So let's listen. So that starts with a C major arpeggio triad. So that's across the 5th fret of the, I'm palm muting this obviously. So we have this 5th fret on the B and G and D. And then 3rd fret on the B, 4th on the G, 5th fret on the D. So that's a G major arpeggio there. Then what you're going to do is come back up here to the 5th fret and just bar across. You're going to bar across 3 strings there, from the B, G to the D. But you're only going to pick a couple of them. You're going to pick the B string and then the G string at the 5th fret. So we have this. And then move it up 2 frets to the D triad. And we do kind of the same thing. You pick the B and then the G, and then to the, you're going to play the, still hold the bar, you're going to play the 8th fret on the B string, and then a little hammer pull from 7, hammer on 8, pull off to 7, and then play the G string and the D at the 7th fret. So we have this. So all together. All right, then it sounds like you're going to start over again. You just pick across that C triad and the G triad like you did at the beginning. But from here, he goes into these harmonics, which are overdubs on the album, but he does them live too. But the harmonics are So what's going on there? It's kind of tricky because you're going to play the 5th fret harmonic on the B string and add a little vibrato. Then you play the 7th fret harmonic on the G, and then the 5th fret harmonic on the G. And then you play that little melody with the bar, which fully 100% let you guys know I don't use the whammy bar very often. So this is new territory for me. So you kind of hit the bar, take it down to that first pitch and then the second pitch, and then let it come back up to the regular, and have some vibrato on it. All right, so you can just kind of mess it up like I just did, but full disclosure, I don't use the whammy bar. All right, and then we go back to those arpeggios. So everything's the exact same, except when we go back, so we do that. It starts the exact same way we played it the first time. But when it comes back around at the ending there, before when we did the harmonics with that C, the G, it goes back at the very end, and when it picks across that G, it picks the 3rd fret there on the B. It goes back and hits that top note before it starts the little legato run up top. So we have this first time through. Hit that little note there, and then we had this last little legato. So what's going on there? You're going to slide into it. Slide up to the 12th fret on the A string, and then hammer on 14. From there, you're going to now go over to 12 on the D string and hammer on 14 and 16. Same thing on the G. So then over to 12 on the B string, hammer on 14, 15. And then the same thing, 12, 14, 15, hammer on the high E. So we have and then pull off back down to 14 and 12, and into a whole step bend at the 15th fret on the B. So the little ending is kind of slows down. All right, so then we have the same intro thing that we did the intro with. So back to that riff. All right, so that was a little different ending there. So the second time I played that note, I just went to that C sharp minor chord, D sus to the B chord, and then that takes us to the last chorus. So it's kind of extended. So now over that, this kind of fades out, but when we're doing this, what you're hearing is a lot of tapped harmonics. Based around an E major and an E sus4 arpeggio. So those notes are just like, so like I said, it keeps going on and on over this outro chorus, and a lot of it's based around just this E triad. So the 9th fret on the D, G, and the B, and then you make that E a sus by playing the 10th fret on the B string, and then so. And he'll bend on that note every once in a while. So that's what he's doing. He's creating a melody just with those notes mostly. So sometimes he'll bend to that note. All right, so that's what's going. You can kind of do your own thing with it over there. It's really, he's just kind of improvising with it, you can tell. All right, but this is just a great track. It's got really cool riffs in it, great chord work, and then just a killer solo. It's just got such a cool hook to it. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I always love cranking out the Van Halen, so I'm going to be doing more, and I hope you guys will stay tuned for that. All right, I'll see you again soon.